Human development is a highly studied part of psychology, even in the modern day. We are always trying to learn more about how we develop in comparison to other species and how we can improve the development of humans. Experiments done in the name of understanding development are nothing rare. Plenty have been done to fantastic results. However, some experiments stand out, whether that be for their revolutionary results or their depraved nature. Some experiments are looked at more closely, including the most uncomfortable of experiments. Today, let us see what happens when we try to raise our closest ancestor as if it were one of us. Winthrop Kellogg was a psychiatrist that primarily studied animal intelligence. He has conducted a few experiments over his time as a researcher, including working with dolphins to test their sonar abilities. But none of his research has been as bizarre as his experiment done with a chimpanzee. Winthrop and his wife, Luella, had a child, which they named Donald, who was born sometime in the 1930s. Winthrop, for a while, has wanted to see the development of a primate in comparison to a human. Winthrop believed that early experience during critical developmental moments of a human's life is very important in the debate of nurture versus nature. In order to test this, he wanted to experiment by using an infant and placing them with animals to see how they would grow up with said animals. So Winthrop had two options: put a baby with wild animals or raise an animal alongside a baby. Seeing the clear reason as to why throwing a baby to wild animals and just watching what happens is just a terrible idea, he went with the latter. So, Winthrop obtained a baby chimp by the name of Gua. She was only 7.5 months old when starting the experiment. Next, Winthrop needed a baby, so he chose his own son, who was only 10 months old, 2.5 months older than Gua, to be the baby of the experiment. What could possibly go wrong? You ask sarcastically. Kellogg projected that this project would take place over 5 years. The married couple would raise both children as if they were siblings. Gua would be fed, bathed, played with, clothed, slept, and just lived as if she was a human. Additionally, Kellogg would track the progress Gua was making compared to Donald, both physically and mentally. Gua and Donald were also made to endure several trials, with some being seen as inhumane. Their pair would be hit on the head with spoons to see their reaction, spun in a chair until they cried, and some reports have even stated that the babies were forced to go through labyrinth to test cognition. At the same time, Gua and Donald would be tested to see how they progressed in their speech and verbal understanding. In the first few months of the experiment, Gua improved in verbal understanding much quicker than Donald. This can be attributed to the biology of a chimp. Primates mature and grow much faster than human beings, so it is to no surprise that Gua would understand words and phrases faster than Donald. However, over time, this momentum slipped. While Donald not only began to understand the same words and phrases, but also speak them, Gua stopped improving in intelligence and never could speak English. The reason behind this was also clear. Animals have a certain ceiling to intelligence. While human brains are expansive in their ability to learn, primates have a much lower limit to when they can no longer learn more than what they already have. This would continue for 9 months until the experiment was abruptly cut short. Kellogg himself was very open about the experiment, at least all the way until its end, in which he stayed relatively silent over its conclusion. This experiment was stated to last 5 years, but ended in only 9 months, which is 15% of the projected lifespan. So, what happened? Well, one theory is that Gua herself became unruly. I urge you not to look too far into this, but the history of humans living with chimps is not very good, with multiple horror stories occurring when humans attempt to domesticate primates. It is very possible that Kellogg, his wife, and Donald were in danger of the ape. Chimpanzees are insanely strong, being projected to be 2 to 5 times stronger than humans and having insane bite pressure. Chimps are also very aggressive creatures, being able to quickly resort to violence if threatened. Living with an animal that could easily overpower anybody in that household is not something to take lightly. The other reason why the experiment could have ended was because of Donald himself. According to reports, Luella urged Kellogg to end the experiment because of Donald's mental state. He began to become more chimp than human. He walked on all fours, bit people when angry, wrestled like a chimp, and barked for food. Donald also was not progressing well in speech. Better than Gua, yes, but not as much as a human baby should. With this, the experiment ended, and Gua was sent off to partake in a different experiment. Kellogg reported his findings, thinking that the psychology community would be interested, but he was met with much criticism. The inhumane tactics against his own son and an innocent primate led many to label this experiment as being immoral. Additionally, many felt that the experiment was unnecessary, claiming that the findings were not very helpful and were quite obvious. Kellogg went on to do other research. Not much is known about Donald after the experiment, other than that he died of suicide at the age of 43. As for Gua, she was expected to be involved in other primate experiments, but died of pneumonia shortly after Kellogg ended the experiment. While we can all pull out lessons of animal development and human development from this tale, the main things that are taken away from this experiment is the dark and cruel nature of it. Kellogg, in his quest, got nothing of use, and only hurt his own son and an innocent chimp through all of this. While Donald and Gua may have been raised and believed they were a family that was never meant to last. While our closest ancestors may have emotions and intelligence greater than most understand, they are also limited in their ability, and their simple nature leads them to be innocent victims of hazardous experimentation. However, this is similar to us when we are infants. Donald was also an innocent victim in all this, and his development was stunted due to the trials he endured. Gua and Donald, when this victimhood is understood, may be true siblings after all. An innocent duo who was forced to endure the woes of life together. Thank you all for watching the video. We have other dark videos like this on our channel, so if you want to go see those, please go check them out. I have more videos obviously coming up in the future. If you like this or have any suggestions, please leave it in the comments below, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.